So I have a question for you guys, and I want you to put your answers in the comment section before we even start this conversation. Why do you think people are having fewer children these days? What's your own reason? Okay, thank you. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Today we're going to be talking about why it seems millennials and Gen Zs are having fewer children than the ideal in comparison to probably their parents and grandparents, etc. And I have a few reasons, personal perspective. So please do not shoot the messenger. I am only a carrier of the message. And as I said before, this is my own perspective. My name is Morayo Ahunaya, and it is my honor to have you here. Today we're in a different space, a more beautiful space, thanks to one of my friends, whom I'm at her house. So if you hear children in the background once in a while, yeah, just know that it's a totally different space, and for a good reason. The children are on holiday. We need to partner in this world in order to achieve the things that we need to achieve. Anyways, back to the conversation. So why are we having fewer children by the minutes, by the years, by the seconds, as millennials and as Gen Z? Why are some people even choosing to not have at all? Some people are like, one and done. I'm having one child and I'm totally done. Well, for me, you know, I already said it from the start, Lati Bebe. Like from the beginning, I said I wanted only 2 children. And I had my reasons then. Some of those reasons I will still say today. While my husband said he wanted 3. But you know the funny thing, after we had our second child, by himself, one day I heard him in a conversation with one of his friends, and he's like, you know what, I actually think I'm done. We are done. I wanted a boy and a girl, but we have a boy and a boy, and I'm still done. I'm not looking for anything else, you know. So I'll tell you some of the reasons why lots of millennials are settling for fewer children. I think number one, the obvious one, is we did not envisage the amount of work that comes with, you know, the process of child rearing, childbearing, child raising. You know, it's almost as if we were not prepared. I don't want to say we were spoiled, but almost as if we were not sat down and told that this is not as easy as you think. Like, there's so much work involved in caring for a child, from the moment they are born, nursing the child, to the moment that they grow. There's, as you've probably heard from 1,000,001 sources, there's anxiety involved. There's work, like physical work, manual labor involved, as is any other job. But I think that parenting is one of the most difficult jobs that anybody could ever have, to be honest. And I'm not one of those people to say, it's so difficult that you won't be able to cope. It's so difficult that, you know, because there's some of those thoughts that are flying around, like, will I be able to cope? Yes, you will be able to cope, but just know, let anybody out there just know that parenting is not easy. It's not child's play. It's a lot of work. And so when we come into that space, when we have like the first child, and then we see that, you know what, this thing is actually a lot of work. For some people that have decided before that they may want to have 5 children, you know, by the time they have one and they see how it's going with one, they begin to become reflective, and they're like, are you sure I will not just do 2 or 3? I've people that wanted to have 2 before, and then maybe they had 1 and they're like, you know what, even this one is okay, is a handful. I also feel that in the past there was a lot of superstition around having 1 or 2 children, you know, a lot of superstitious beliefs. I'm just going to be open here. Some people say, what if, I even have someone that has said, what if something happens to one of the children? And I'm like, that is not a way to live life. There are people that have had 5 children and all 5 children died. Let's not lie. What I believe is that you pay closer attention subconsciously when you have fewer children. And we've seen a lot of families where, you know, they had 1 child, and that child is thriving, living, doing well, survived all the hurdles, all the sicknesses in this world, and has gone on to have their own families as well. Not just in Nigeria, but globally. People are seeing that, especially from, you know, the Asian countries, Korea, etc., where at a point you just had to have 1 or 2 children. People saw that those families thrived, those people thrived. So all these insinuations and superstitions around 1 or 2 children is really not true. That's one of the reasons. Another reason is economy, and it's a very valid reason, more valid than ever. In fact, now more than ever. Even though God is our source and God is our provider, ladies and gentlemen, fuel is now what? 617 naira. Dollar is now what? You know, things are not exactly getting easier. And in comparison to our parents' times, the cost of living is higher. The mode of living, not just cost of living now, the places, the spaces, they are not as conducive as they used to be. Schools, everything that has to do with raising your child requires money. You're going to buy clothes for the child is going to feed. You want to take the child to playgrounds, to societies. You want the child to have relationships that are beneficial to the child. You want to have extracurriculum activities for the child. You know, you want to teach the child different languages. Someone like me, you want to take the child to swimming classes, you want to teach the child. All these things require money. So people are beginning to sit down, count the cost of things before they delve into things. And they're realizing that, yes, I want more children, but for the quality of life that I want to give to this child, this is the amount of children, or for the quality of life I want to give per child, these are the amount of children that I can have. And that is called opportunity cost. Moreover, in this day and age, we are also taking care of other people. Economy, we are taking care of parents. Black tax is a real thing, especially in Africa. It's a real thing. You're taking care of other people. You're taking care of your relatives. All that money is coming from somewhere. You know? So yeah, opportunity cost. You forego the idea of having more children so that you can give quality to the ones that you have. I remember one time I was having a conversation with one of the seamstresses that, you know, I know. And she was like, why are you having just 2 children? And I said, I've always imagined that if I'm traveling or if there's an emergency, I have 2 hands, I can just easily grab onto 2, you know? And that's how I've put in perspective the quality of life that I can give. I just feel like it's just easier. I have 2 hands, 2 legs. It's just easier for me to handle 1, 2. And she's like, that's a silly reason. And I'm like, I know it's silly, maybe to you, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Anyways, moving on. Another reason why people are having fewer children these days is what? Education. Our president has increased the Unity Schools education fees, right? I mean, when I went to my federal university, how much was I paying? 15K or so. Now it's over 100,000 naira. So again, economy, education isn't cheap. But aside from that, in comparison to my parents, the age at which people are finishing schools, not just because of the style of education in Nigeria, that's another thing entirely. If you put the country into context, in Nigeria, you can spend, instead of spending 4 years, you can spend 7 years in a federal university because of things like strike and all sorts of things in the society, right? But let's just say in globally or generally in the world today, the time at which our parents were being done with their education is much, you know, their ages were much younger in comparison to us. I finished secondary school relatively early. I finished secondary school at the age of 16, and then I got into uni immediately. I did a course that, you know, I had to do something like a compulsory master's. I had to do a compulsory master's, not something like compulsory master's, architecture. And in total, I spent 6 years plus maybe 1, maybe strike and balancing things out in uni. By the time I was done with uni, I came out, I was about the age of 23, right? 23, you have to go for NYC. I went for NYC. NYC is a whole year. And NYSC, National Youth Service Corps in Nigeria, is compulsory. You finish with NYSC, I was done at the age of 24. Personally, I wanted to work, and I thank God that I had a partner then who understood that personal desire. Everybody has personal goals. I wanted to work in my industry for 2 years, and he did not even pressure me for marriage. He didn't ask me to marry him. You know the funny part? When I had spent 2 years, bam, on the dot in the company that I was in, my husband proposed. So he waited consciously. So I worked for 2 years plus. I got married, and we waited a while again before I had my first son when I was 28, 29, right? Because of all this, the major reason was education. Education takes so long. And do you know what I noticed? I'm in Port Harcourt now. This side of the world, people even finish secondary school and things like that at a later age. In the West, in Lagos, it's very easy to see someone that is finishing school, university, 13, 14, 15, 16. But in this side of the world, I'm seeing people that are finishing university, almost finishing secondary school at the age of almost 20, and I'm like, when will you now start university? When will you now go for NYSC? Before you now start thinking of working? Before you now start marrying? So you notice that, or you will notice that there are a lot of older marriages now than our parents' age, and this is just because of the cycle of life, the normal cycle of life of child starts life and child goes to school, etc, etc. By the time they are done with tertiary education, they are almost in their 30s, and then they start birthing. Then for a woman, the window of fertility is quite short. Let's say in comparison to her parents, if she started giving birth in her early 20s, I mean, there's an opportunity to have more children. But if she starts giving birth in her late 20s or early 30s, the window of fertility is quite short. And the woman is the primary bearer, the incubator of children. So how do we want to do it? I don't know if my logic is making sense to you guys. But yeah, these are the thoughts that I'm having, or the reasons why. As I said, I'm the messenger. Don't shoot me. Another reason that I've seen, or another reason that I have noticed, aside from education, is fertility itself. For some reason, in our generation, it's becoming more and more obvious that a lot of us have fertility issues. There's a plane passing by. Yeah, go. Like, I read a study that there are more people with fertility issues in this day and age, for some reason, maybe it's the food, than maybe 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. So as the years are progressing, fertility is also reducing. It may also be the fact that we are starting our families later than before. But aside from that, more people have, things like PCOS, endometriosis, and things like that. A lot of fertility issues in this day and in this time. Another reason why you may notice that people are having less children is education in another sense. Aside from education of going to school, there's the education of the mind, where, as they've seen that the work is much, it takes a lot of finance, etc. So they go and they consult, how can we stop these children? Thanks to modern technology, contraceptives are now available in abundance. So there are different ways of stopping children. So yes, contraceptives is the third or the fourth reason why I would say that people are having less children, because people can now actively take the period of, the probability of having children out. There's more certainty now in the ways that you get children. If you mistakenly, you can't say there's mistake. Although some people claim that there's mistake, and there's still mistakes. But there's more enlightenment now, there's more education, there's more ways to stop pregnancy now. People are having sex without getting pregnant. It's all messed up. But yeah, people can have sex now and not have children, unlike back in the days where you have to really, really be careful, pray to God, or you have to use natural methods to stop it. Now, you can actively stop getting pregnant. And I think I'll be wrapping up here because I don't want this video to take too long. For me, the very final reason why people are choosing not to birth children is because of trauma, right? So there's birth trauma that people experience. Women experience birth traumas and they're like, I don't want to do this again. So you may call us a weaker generation. That's your own business. But it's a very valid thing that people are taking their life more seriously these days. There's enough stress, there's enough things. So when people see that this can harm me very actively, people are shying away from it, you know. And maybe the dangers are more clear to us now. Maybe the dangers were not as pronounced to our parents. Maybe because there's a lot of conversations that are going around. People are hearing a lot of things. There's a lot of conversation. Maybe that's why. But people are actively saying, I had a serious birth trauma, I'm not doing this again. 1 and done, or 2 and done. Another trauma would be maybe childhood trauma. As much as our parents tried, as much as we are seeing that our parents really tried for us, our parents really tried though, especially those that had a lot of children, they really tried. But they left us in the hands of different people that, in quote, they trusted. And a lot of us had childhood traumas. A lot of people were abused. So people are like, I don't want my child to go through that. I don't want to birth a child even that would even go through that. People are more conscious of those things. So they birth the ones that they can look at and take care of by themselves without requiring too much help. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, this is my submission. And with these few points of mine, I hope that you guys understand us a bit better. I have to run now. My children are crying. Everything is a mess. I don't know if you're hearing. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's continue this conversation whenever else we can or wherever else we can. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Much love.